All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, Canada's Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force says the Chinese government is behind a campaign in the last month that saw posts about Mark Carney boosted on China's largest social media network, WeChat. Let's talk about this and more with Robert Fife. He's the Ottawa bureau chief for the Globe and Mail. Robert, thanks so much for joining us again with this elections campaign check-in. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
What's your reaction to this story? Obviously, this dropped late in the morning yesterday. Two posts under particular scrutiny, one from March 10th under the headline, "The U.S. Encounters a Tough Guy Prime Minister." There was another post on the 25th that was titled, "Canada's Road to Seeking a Survival Election." What should we know about this story and the Canada's watchdog chiming in on this?
Well, I think it's quite clear from what we have learned is that China would prefer Mark Carney to be the prime minister. As we now know, China uses WeChat and other social media outlets to try to influence the elections and the election of people all over the world. And we know that during the Liberal leadership, they put out the site said that they were going after Chrystia Freeland with malicious comments that they were spreading in the Chinese Canadian community. But what we now know from what we've learned yesterday is that these were not malicious comments. They were not spreading disinformation against Mark Carney. They were spreading information saying he'd be a great guy, he's a tough guy, he can take on the President of the United States. So that is an instance where clearly Beijing would prefer to see Mark Carney as prime minister than Pierre Poilievre. They have not, as far as we know, spread anything negative about Pierre Poilievre, but we know that before the last year that they had spread disinformation about Michael Chong, who was the Conservative Foreign Affairs critic and a very outspoken critic of China, particularly the crackdown on Hong Kong and their brutal treatment of the Uyghurs in China.
So we know they're promoting Mark Carney. I appreciate how definitively you made your statement off the top here. But do we know the why?
Well, I think it's obvious. Mr. Carney has had a good relations with Beijing. And he's probably respected because, he's a central bank governor in Canada and in the UK. In April last year, when he was chair of Brookfield Assets Management, which, by the way, manages assets of about $1 trillion, went to Beijing and met President Xi Jinping along with other U.S. Industrialists who had major investment firms and hedge funds, including the head of BlackRock. And then in October, he also was back in China and he met the deputy governor of the People's Republic of Bank of China, which is their central bank. So, I mean, he has good relations with the Chinese over the year. And because he has been outspoken on President Trump's tariffs, and as you know, China is also facing much more severe tariffs than Canada. So, I'm not in the head of the Chinese Communist Party, but it's clear that from what we know that they prefer to have Mark Carney as prime minister. Not to say that he's going to be influenced by it or is a toady of them or anything like that. It's just that from their perspective, they see Mr. Carney as clearly the best alternative from their perspective.
Does any of this tie into the Paul Chang affair, right? The candidate that was openly calling to collect a bounty on a Conservative candidate. Does it tie into that?
I don't know whether you could draw a connection with that at all. Paul Chang was eventually forced to resign, but before he did, Mr. Carney was supportive of him, said he made a mistake when he said that a conservative rival should be, and human rights activist who should be taken to the Chinese consulate, and you can turn them in for a bounty of, I think, about $184,000 or $1 million Hong Kong dollars. I wouldn't draw any conclusions on that, but the man who's replaced him, who is also a former police officer,
Peter Yoon.
Peter Yoon, rather. He seems to be pretty close to the Chinese consulate as well.
I want to get to.
There's a video of him singing, patriotic Chinese songs.
Yeah, we covered that during our Big Five segment off the top of our show. We did mention that that look, not necessarily a good one. Robert Fife from the Globe Mail. I do want to get to a piece that you published in the last couple of days about a former top trade advisor that's going to deliver a closed-door keynote at a major conservative conference. The Canada Strong and Free Network is this conference. Tell us about this story, why this is important.
Well, what we have here is that the Canada Strong and Free Network, which used to be the Manning Center, it's not really associated with Mr. Carney anymore, but Robert Lighthizer, who many would say would be the architect of the Trump America First strategy and the belief in sweeping and massive tariffs in his first term, and has advised President Trump during the 2024 election campaign, and remains an unofficial advisor to him, and has been a real advocate of tariffs. He's going to be speaking to the Canada Strong and Free Network on Friday. Mark Maroney, who is Brian Maroney's son and is now a vice chair at Bank of Nova Scotia for global markets and banking, is going to interview him. It's closed to the media. Liberals and conservatives are saying, why would you invite Robert Lighthizer, who, when we're in the middle of a trade war? And secondly, though, why would you close this off? What are you afraid of Canadians hearing from them? And so it's caused a controversy here. Now, Danielle Smith, the Alberta Premier, is saying she's going to be going to the conference. She's going to be speaking at the conference, and she's looking forward to hearing what Robert Lighthizer has to say. She's arguing that, look, maybe he'll give us some insights on how to deal with the Trump administration, and that is what the same view that the Canada Strong and Free organizers are saying as well.
Robert, last question. Who do you think's got momentum in this campaign right now?
Well, it looks like the Liberals are still ahead, but it's narrowing a bit. They're ahead about 4 to 5 points, depending on what polls you're looking at. Some have them a little higher. So this week is really important because for Mr. Poilievre, because he needs to even tighten that gap, and he had a big endorsement last night in Edmonton from Stephen Harper, which will probably help him with a lot of Canadians. And then next week is decision day, really. It becomes, we go down to the debates in French and English, and after that, it's 1 week left, and it's a race to the finish. So I don't think we can call it right now. It's still fairly tight, but the Liberals are ahead.
Robert, we'll leave it there. Always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thanks for today.
You're welcome. Bye.
Robert Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief over at the Globe and Mail. In transit, coming up next, are rising tariffs on imported cars about to drive your next vehicle's purchase price through the roof? We'll have a closer look next.